Does anybody remember when the big man was obsolete? Back in 2014, 2015, or 2015, 2016, 16, 17, the Warriors dynasty. We had a small ball lineup that the Warriors were introduced maybe in the third quarter, and nobody could stop it. Nobody could stop it. I mean, it was Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andre Iguodala, Harrison Barnes, and Draymond Green. I mean, it was a well-ran small ball lineup to where everybody could have the ball outside the perimeter, hit some shots. But the very next year, Kevin Durant comes in and makes it even harder to stop. I mean, you have a starting lineup of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andre Iguodala, Kevin Durant, and Draymond Green. I mean, there's nothing much more you can ask for. You have the defense in Klay Thompson. You have the defense in Draymond Green. Kevin Durant and Andre Iguodala. Like, Kevin Durant had very good defense back in the time. Andre Iguodala was a very good defender. Klay Thompson is a very good defender. Draymond Green was a very good defender. Steph Curry could just be the head of it all, running around screens, running around like a chicken with his head cut off. As soon as he catches the ball, it just goes in. It's like, you can't stop it. You can't stop it, to the point where they were like, Jeff Green, can you grab about 9, 10 rebounds a night? You're about 6'9". You're agile. Can you give me 9, 10 rebounds a night? PJ Tucker, you're about 6'6". You think you can guard Draymond Green and play the center for the time being in a 7-game series against the Golden State Warriors? You think you can do that for us? So it had a really big chokehold on the NBA. And just to throw some stats in there, in the 2016 playoffs, there was not a single center in the top 25 in usage rating. The first center to get on the board is at 26 for Andre Drummond, but there is not a single player in the top 25, or not a single big man in the top 25 in usage rating for the 2016 NBA playoffs. So I find that pretty funny. And to come down the line, you see a guy like DeMarcus Cousins. He can bring the ball up the floor. He can pass the ball. He can shoot. We saw the blueprint. We saw the blueprint with the way the big man was going. He could have his back to the basket. He can swing to other players. He could bring the ball down the floor. He can hit the open jump shot. We just never got to see it on a winning team. And I think a lot of NBA fans wanted to see that. We wanted to see DeMarcus Cousins go to the Celtics. We wanted to see him go to the Pelicans. We wanted to see him go to the Heat. We wanted to see him go to a good team so we can really experience a playoff DeMarcus Cousins. We never got that. But then Karl Anthony Towns comes in the league, and he's averaging 18 and 10 in his rookie year with about 2.5 blocks. He's stretching the floor. He's passing the ball. He looks like a great defender. He looks like a great back-to-basket player. Then Joel Embiid starts making his ranks up in the big man race. He's backing down other centers. He's hitting jump shots. He's putting the ball on the floor. He's making plays. And then there's this big man from Serbia who just comes out of nowhere, thinks he's a point guard. He's bringing the ball down the floor. He's setting the offense for his players. He's kicking it to the corner. You can't double him. You can't dance with him. You can't stop him. He wins a 3-time MVP out of 4 years. You can't stop him. So the big man, it looks like it's back. We got generational talents at the big man. Victor Wembanyama is a guy who could be the best offensive and defensive player on your team. He looks like he could be an MVP and defensive player of the year. Haven't seen that since Giannis Antetokounmpo. He looked like he'd be the scoring champion as a defensive player of the year. Chet Holmgren, a 7-foot guy who could put the ball on the floor, hit 3-pointers. If I would have told guys back in 2000 that this is how the big man would look, they wouldn't have believed me. So now let's get into why I started this video in the first place. Let's talk about how having a lineup of 2 to 3 good big men can win you a championship. Now, when we look at some of the players or some of the teams that are still in the playoffs, the Dallas Mavericks with Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. Let's look at the stats. They split the minutes down the middle. Daniel Gafford's averaging about 22 minutes per game, and Derek Lively's averaging about 24. The PER, player efficiency rating, Daniel Gafford's at a 25 and Derek Lively's at an 18. Let's talk about defensive win shares. Daniel Gafford is at a 3.3 and Derek Lively is at a 4.9. Neither one of these lineups, whether you have Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford in, they're not getting worse defensively. Jason Kidd has got these guys at 5-minute intervals. So if I want to throw out Daniel Gafford, he can run up and down the floor at full speed. He can take a charge. He can get some offensive rebounds. He can dive on the floor for the loose ball. He can go make some free throws because he's not going to be in long. Because once he gets tired, go ahead, Lively. We got a big man in the game at every single moment of the game who's willing and has the energy to make every single extra play, every single dirty work play in the game to win us that basketball game. I think it was game 1 or game 6 against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Daniel Gafford, very big game. I think it was game 6 against the Oklahoma City Thunder. He outplayed the second or the runner-up for Rookie of the Year. And it was just by being a true big man. And Chet had to play way more minutes than Daniel Gafford because the Thunder don't have a good big man rotation. Let's talk about the New York Knicks. Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson. This is another team. When they're healthy, you could put out Isaiah Hartenstein. You could put out Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson was hurt for most of the season, so Isaiah Hartenstein got the nod at the starting center. Isaiah Hartenstein averaged about 25 minutes per game. Mitchell Robinson had about 24. Player efficiency rating. Isaiah Hartenstein was at a 19. Mitchell Robinson's at a 16. Defensive box plus minus. Isaiah Hartenstein's at a 2.8. Mitchell Robinson's at a 0.5. Now, people are saying, oh, that's 0.5, that's not that good. No, it means that this team does not get worse when Mitchell Robinson steps on the floor for the defensive side of the basketball. On the defensive side of the basketball, they do not get worse when he comes in the game. Or whether it's Isaiah Hartenstein coming in. This team's not going to get worse on defense. It's not going to get worse. It's not going to get worse. By the way, let's just jump back to the Mavericks real quick. Since the trade deadline, Dallas has had the best defensive rating in the league. They have been number 2 in rebounds and number 3 in blocks. Currently, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, and Derrick Jones Jr. have caught the most lobs in the playoffs so far. That's what happens when you have a good big man rotation. Let's talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves, who possibly have the best big man rotation in the NBA. You have Karl Anthony Towns, who's a very solid shooter, one of the greatest shooting big men the league has ever seen. Naz Reid, 6th man of the year. Rudy Gobert, 4-time defensive player of the year. Whether you want to put Rudy Gobert in, Naz Reid and Karl Anthony Towns can take the Jokic assignment, and Rudy Gobert can be the help defender. We've seen without even Rudy Gobert, the Minnesota Timberwolves put the best defensive performance on we've seen all year without their defensive player of the year. And we know what Cat and Naz Reid can do together on offense. It makes it very hard to stop this Minnesota Timberwolves team. Very hard. Very hard. So let's talk about some of the teams that don't have the big man rotation. Let's talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. They knew coming into this season they were going to have to limit the offensive rebounds. That's not something that caught them by surprise. They knew it, and they still couldn't do it. They lost this series on offensive rebounds. They lost. I don't want to hear it's because if you go back in that series against the Denver Nuggets, you can look and find one play that lost them the game. Every single game. Every single game. You can look back at that 5-game series and look back and be like, that play just lost in the game. In game 5, I think they were up 2 with about a minute and a half left to play. Michael Porter Jr. shoots a 3. Aaron Gordon is not yet in the paint. I think LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and D'Angelo Russell is down there waiting on the rebound. Aaron Gordon runs in from the 3 and gets the rebound because nobody's boxing out. Nobody's boxing out. So let's talk about the Sacramento Kings. In the play-in game against the Pelicans, Domantas Sabonis was getting cooked in the pick and roll by Jose Alvarado and Larry Nance for 48 minutes. 48 minutes of basketball. Or however much Domantas Sabonis played that game. He was getting cooked from start to finish in the pick and roll. You need a good quality rotation of big men to win a championship. 2 or maybe 3 guys. Fruit for your thought. I'm out.